Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something that seems, well, really straightforward at first glance. It's a video, teaches beginner English, set in a fruit market. But, you know us, we're gonna peel back those layers, find some deeper insights into how language learning actually works. Okay, let's unpack this. So this deep dive, it's really focused on nailing down those fundamental English communication skills, and we're doing it through this surprisingly rich shopping scenario. Our source material, it's excerpts from a video called Fruit Market English, Beginner Shopping Conversation. Pretty clear what it's trying to do, easy, real-life English for people just starting out. And our mission for you listening isn't just, learn a few phrases. It's to get you quickly well-informed on the thinking behind it, how they teach vocabulary, the grammar for quantities, those polite phrases. You're going to see how even a simple chat can be absolutely packed with key learning points. Makes tricky language stuff feel, well, much more accessible.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here, I think, is why this kind of material, just a simple, real-world dialogue, often works so much better than, say, traditional textbook stuff.
Yeah.
It just cuts through the abstract rules, doesn't it? It gives you something immediately relevant, tangible. I mean, when you're actually trying to buy something, there's a real need, a purpose.
Yeah.
And that urgency, it really speeds up the learning process. It's all about empowering you to use the language straight away, not just, understand it theoretically.
That's such a critical point, that immediate usability. Makes me think how often learners just get bogged down, right?
Yeah.
In grammar rules and theory, when what they really need is that practical experience, like being in the situation. And we've got some really specific nuggets to look at today. We'll explore the vocabulary, apple, banana, orange, mango, tomato, potato, carrot, onion, common stuff. But how it's presented so it actually, sticks.
Right.
And we'll dive into the grammar a bit too. Countable nouns. So understanding 2 apples, 3 bananas, sure, but also how the video kind of sneakily introduces things like 2 kilos of tomatoes. That's often a hurdle, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, a common one.
And then those really vital, polite phrases. Can I have? How much is? Ha! Get ready for some proper aha moments about how language isn't just rules. It's that social dance. Interaction. Okay, so let's start with the words, the vocabulary. You mentioned the power of learning in context. How does this fruit market setting specifically help make those everyday words like apple or carrot really sink in for a beginner? Not just heard, but like internalized.
Well, that's all about the immersion, isn't it?
Yeah.
The video isn't just giving you a list. It puts the words right into the situation where they're needed, where they're visible. When you see the actual apple and you hear the word apple while someone is actually buying it, that connection, that direct association, it's incredibly powerful. It's not rote learning. It's tying the word directly to an experience, maybe even a visual memory. And research backs this up. It massively improves retention compared to learning words in isolation, what linguists sometimes call decontextualization.
Yeah, learning lists.
Exactly. The market provides this sort of multisensory anchor. You see it, you hear it in use, makes a huge difference.
That makes total sense. The visual, the sound, the action all together. It's like a shortcut for the brain almost.
Right.
Okay, so building on those words, grammar, often the scary part, right? But this video, with its focus on countable nouns, seems to make it simpler. What's the key to how it demystifies stuff like a versus an or plurals right there in the market?
Well, what the video does really well with countable nouns is show how important being specific is in a real transaction. It subtly brings in quantifiers, like you mentioned, kilos of. That's often tricky for learners whose first language doesn't structure things quite the same way. So this simple segment, it's actually tackling a pretty significant cross-linguistic challenge, but in a very practical, non-threatening way.
Right, without making a big deal out of the grammar rule itself.
Exactly. And the a versus an, or adding an s for plurals, they're not presented as abstract rules you have to memorize first. They're just functional. You need to say an orange because, well, that's how it sounds, right? And you need to say 3 apples if you want 3 apples, not 1.
The motivation is built in.
Precisely. It's inherent in the goal of the interaction. The video uses what we call comprehensible input, language that's maybe just a tiny bit ahead of your current level, but the context makes it understandable. That's the sweet spot, really, where you learn effectively without feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, that sweet spot. I like that. The motivation coming from needing to communicate, not just needing to pass a test. And thinking about the flow, politeness. It's huge in any interaction, isn't it? The video really emphasizes phrases like, can I have, or I'd like. How does it teach these? Not just as, nice options, but as essential tools for like navigating the social side of things.
Well, the power of something like "can I have" goes beyond just being polite. It's about understanding what linguists call pragmatics, the sort of unspoken rules, the social dance of language.
All right.
The video shows how that small shift from maybe a direct command like "give me" to a polite request totally changes the feel of the interaction. It builds a bit of goodwill, makes the whole thing smoother. It's fundamental for navigating social norms, not just a grammar point to tick off.
So it's teaching the whole exchange.
Yeah, exactly. And when the seller replies with typical things like "here you go" or anything else, that reinforces the loop. It shows the learner how politeness works both ways, how a transaction flows naturally. It's teaching a complete communicative act, not just isolated phrases.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what does this all mean for you listening in? Let's recap the main takeaways from this market deep dive. First off, we've seen how a really focused real-world setting makes vocabulary stick. It's not just knowing words like apple or banana.
Yeah.
It's understanding why that context, that direct association, works so well. It gives you a model for how you can pick up new words more effectively yourself.
And then there's the grammar. We saw it in action, not as daunting rules, but as practical tools you need to be clear. You got insight into how even a beginner video can cleverly teach things like countable nouns, showing why specifics like 3 apples or 2 kilos of tomatoes matter. Plus those little but vital bits like a or an and plurals, learned through need, not abstract theory.
Absolutely. And crucially, those polite phrases. Can I have? Oh, I'd like. How much is this?
They're your practical request tools, yes, but we saw how they also act as social lubricants, just making interactions work better. And seeing the seller's polite replies, "here you go, anything else," that completes the picture, shows how courtesy smooths the way.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, mastering these, let's be honest, seemingly basic things, it's incredibly empowering. It gives learners the confidence to actually go out and use the language in real life. This market chat shows how those building blocks, the vocab and context, the functional grammar, the politeness, they all add up. They lead step by step towards fluency and feeling comfortable. It highlights that fluency isn't necessarily about mastering complex sentences right away. It's often about using these foundational bits really effectively, this dialogue. It's a great example of scaffolding and language learning, building confidence piece by piece, starting simple. Exactly. And this focused way of looking at it, we hope, helps you get that knowledge quickly, but also properly, without feeling swamped by too much information. It gives you something you can actually use right away. That's always the goal here, making you feel well-informed, confident, and understanding the how and why behind effective learning. So here's a thought to leave you with. Next time you're in any everyday situation, maybe ordering coffee, asking for directions, whatever, especially if it's in a language you're learning, how can you use that powerful, polite simplicity we saw today? How can you use those clear, simple structures to get your point across and feel confident doing it? And maybe think about how practicing, like role-playing those situations, just like the video suggests, could be a really powerful way to build up that confidence for any practical language scenario you might face.